There is nothing broken in you, nothing that needs repair. You are not a machine gone wrong or a puzzle with missing pieces. You are not a project that needs managing or a story that needs rewriting to suit someone else's narrative. You are not here to be fixed because you are not faulty. You are here to be freed. Freed from the illusion that you ever needed to be more than what you are in this sacred breathing moment. From the time we arrive on this earth, we are bombarded with subtle suggestions that we are incomplete, that we are somehow not enough, not yet, not quite, not ever, unless we strive, unless we earn, unless we prove. But the truth, the eternal truth is this: you arrived whole. You arrived divine, you arrived worthy, you arrived enough. What came later was conditioning. What came later were opinions. What came later were stories that others had written in their own pain and unknowingly passed on to you. But the soul beneath those stories, it has never changed. You see, the soul doesn't need fixing. It only longs to be remembered. It only longs to be released from the prison of your own forgetting. You are not your wounds. You are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are the awareness beneath it, all spacious, still, unshaken, and eternal. You are the witness who sees it all but is bound by none of it. So why do we spend so much time trying to fix ourselves? Because we have believed the loudest voice, not the truest one. We have given our attention to the surface noise, the opinions of the world, the judgments of culture, the comparisons we've made, and in doing so, we have silenced the whisper of our inner knowing, that sacred voice that does not shout, that does not condemn, but gently reminds us, you were never meant to live like this. We don't need to become someone else to be free. We only need to remove what is not us. And the beautiful thing is, freedom does not require force. It requires surrender. Not a giving up, but a giving over. A letting go of the armor we built to survive in a world that taught us to fear being ourselves. The pain we carry is often not our own. It is the inherited fear of those who came before us. Their doubt, their scarcity, their trauma, their shame, passed on not because they were cruel, but because they were asleep. And now we have the choice not to fix what they gave us, but to release it. We were taught to seek wholeness in doing, in earning, and achieving, as if we were born empty and must spend our lives filling a void. But there is no void in the soul. Only the illusion of separation from the source that created you. When you return to that source, when you become still, when you breathe, when you listen, you begin to see with new eyes. You begin to remember that wholeness was never something to seek. It is something to return to, something to uncover, something that's been buried beneath layers of expectation, fear, and identity. Imagine a magnificent sculpture hidden beneath a block of stone. The sculptor does not add anything to the marble, he removes what is not the masterpiece. And so it is with your life. Healing is not about becoming something new. It's about shedding what you are not. And in that shedding, you find the freedom you've been chasing all along. There is no need to run anymore. There is no need to strive toward some imagined perfection. The soul does not evolve by force. It unfolds by grace, by stillness, by trust, by the deep inner knowing that nothing real can be threatened, that who you truly are cannot be damaged, that the self beneath all the noise, the timeless, formless, eternal self, does not need therapy, does not need improvement. It needs only recognition. And when you begin to see yourself through the eyes of the divine, you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And begin to ask, what do I need to let go of that's not mine? You begin to ask, what story am I still telling that's keeping me small? You begin to ask, whose approval am I still chasing, and why do I believe I need it? These are not questions to judge yourself, they are keys to your own prison. Because the only thing keeping you from freedom is the belief that you are not already free. You were conditioned to believe that your worth was tied to doing, but your worth is in your being. You were taught to hustle for love, but love is your nature, You were raised to believe peace is something to find, but peace is what happens when you stop running. The ego will tell you that you're not enough, that you must strive harder, perform better, prove your value, but the soul waits patiently for the day you turn inward and remember, you are not your ego. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the role you play, the name you were given, the mask you wear. You are not your mistakes or your achievements. You are not what they said about you, and you are not what you said about yourself when you forgot who you were. You are the sky, not the weather. You are the ocean, not the waves. You are the light, not the lampshade. And when you recognize this, when you truly embody this, the need to fix yourself begins to fall away. You stop trying to polish your reflection and start honoring the radiance that's always been there. Freedom is not the absence of flaws, it's the absence of judgment. It's the end of resistance. It's the softening that happens when you meet yourself with compassion instead of criticism. When you hold your sadness like a child and say, you are safe with me. When you embrace your confusion without trying to solve it. When you allow your humanity without labeling it as failure. This is the paradox of awakening. The moment you stop trying to change yourself is the moment transformation begins. Because true change is not born from shame. It is born from love. When you finally see yourself clearly, not as damaged, but divine, you don't need to be fixed. You simply allow your true self to be seen, to be known, to be honored. And in that space, life begins to unfold in its own miraculous rhythm. There is a great stillness within you, deeper than your fear, deeper than your past. It is the stillness of your own divine essence, that sacred flame that was never extinguished, only covered. And when you sit in silence, when you breathe deeply, when you let go of the need to prove or protect or perform, that stillness becomes your teacher. It whispers the truth you've always known, that you are not here to become worthy. You are here to remember that you already are. The world may never affirm this truth for you. In fact, it often does the opposite. It celebrates effort, not essence. It rewards masks, not authenticity. But the soul doesn't care for applause. It longs for alignment. It longs for you to remember what it whispered when you were still a child, before the conditioning, before the comparison, before the pretending. That whisper said, you are already home. You are already whole. You are already free. But to hear it now, you must unlearn. You must unlearn the belief that healing comes from adding more and more books, more affirmations, more rituals, more effort. Sometimes healing is subtraction. Sometimes the medicine is silence. Sometimes the breakthrough is in the breakdown. And sometimes the most spiritual act is to stop trying and simply allow yourself to be exactly as you are, without resistance, without apology. This doesn't mean you won't grow. It means your growth will no longer be a frantic race to fix what you believe is broken. Instead, it becomes a gentle unfolding, a return to your true nature, the way a rose doesn't strive to bloom, but simply opens in the light. You were born to open. Not to earn the sun, but to reveal what has always been hidden beneath the armor of self-doubt and the weight of expectation. Look around at nature. The tree does not apologize for how it bends toward the light. The river does not question its twists. The mountain does not feel shame for its stillness. The moon does not ask permission to shine. And yet, you, the most miraculous creation of all, were told somewhere along the way that you must apologize for simply being who you are. That you must hide your tenderness, that your sensitivity is weakness, that your joy must be earned, your tears must be silenced, and your uniqueness must be diluted so others feel more comfortable. But you were never meant to be acceptable. You were meant to be authentic. And authenticity begins the moment you stop trying to be more and start allowing yourself to be enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are, a divine expression of life itself. You do not need to fix your pain. You need to listen to it. Let it speak. Let it rise. Let it move through you like the tide. Don't dam it up with false positivity or drown it with distractions. Let it tell you where it hurts. Let it show you what it's still carrying. And then not with judgment, but with compassion, place your hand over your heart and say, I see you, I hear you, I'm with you now. You've tried being hard on yourself. You've tried self-criticism and guilt and endless striving. Where did it get you? Tired, disconnected, afraid to slow down, afraid to stop, afraid to be still. But try love, try gentleness, try radical self-acceptance, not because you've earned it, but because your soul was never unworthy to begin with. It's easy to love yourself when you feel successful, inspired, enlightened. But freedom is found when you can love yourself in the confusion, in the darkness, in the mess. The soul doesn't reject your mess. It moves through it like light through shadow. It doesn't say, you should be better by now. It says, welcome, you're safe here. Let's go deeper. And when you go deeper, you'll find the pain wasn't asking for punishment, it was asking for presence. It wasn't a sign that you are broken. It was a sign that something old is ready to be released. You are not your trauma. You are the space that witnessed it. You are not your depression. You are the awareness that feels it. You are not your anxiety. You are the stillness beneath it. And when you stop identifying with the waves and remember you are the ocean, everything changes. Not because your circumstances change overnight, but because you stop resisting what is, and in doing so, you become truly free. You do not have to pretend anymore. You do not have to force joy. You do not have to chase perfection. You are allowed to be exactly where you are, with every contradiction, every question unanswered. Enlightenment is not the absence of humanity, it is the embrace of it. The fully awakened soul does not live above the storm, it knows how to dance in the rain. So stop asking, what do I need to fix in me? And begin asking, what do I need to love in me? Stop trying to escape your feelings and instead invite them to tea. They have wisdom. They have stories. They have roots that trace back generations. You don't need to analyze every detail. You don't need to solve every wound. You need only to stay with it, breathe through it, trust the process of release, not as a technique, but as a sacred return to self. Because the self, the real self, the one untouched by the world, has never been damaged. It is not a personality. It is not an identity. It is not a role. It is the pure light of presence. It is the observer. It is the stillness beneath all doing. And when you sit in that stillness long enough, when you become aware of the awareness itself, healing ceases to be a goal and becomes a natural byproduct of returning to truth. You are already that which you seek. Not someday, not if, not once you've read one more book or healed one more wound. Right now, in this breath, in this moment, as you are, the only veil is the thought that you are not. Spiritual freedom is not about becoming better, it's about becoming real. Not in the eyes of others, but in your own. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to see you and you finally see yourself. The moment you stop waiting for permission and you grant it to yourself. The moment you stop running from your past and realize that every step, even the painful ones, were part of your unfolding. Nothing has been wasted, not your detours, not your heartbreak, not your silence, not your confusion. Even your regrets have led you here to the edge of awakening, to the doorway of truth. And now you must decide, will you keep trying to fix yourself into worthiness, or will you lay down your tools and simply return to your divine essence? Because freedom begins when you no longer believe that your value is negotiable. When you stop asking the world to validate what was already written in the stars the day you were born, you were not made to be perfect. You were made to be real. And in your realness, you radiate more light than any mask ever could. The healing you seek is not in becoming someone else. It's in unbecoming everything you are not. Every belief that says you're too much or not enough. Every lie that says you must earn love. Every inherited shame that says your emotions are inconvenient. Every label that was never yours to wear. Let them fall away. Let them burn in the fire of your awareness. And let what's left the raw, tender, powerful truth of who you are stand tall in its sacredness. Because the truth is, you don't need to be fixed. You never did. You only need to stop believing the thought that says you do. The illusion that you need fixing is born from comparison. You measured yourself against someone else's path, someone else's timeline, someone else's rules. But the soul doesn't compare, it knows. It knows the perfection of your own journey. It knows that the seasons of your life do not follow a clock on the wall or a calendar and a planner. They follow the rhythm of the cosmos, the divine choreography of unfolding. Your winter is not your punishment. It is your preparation. Your delay is not your denial. It is your deepening. And your breakdown is not your end. It is your initiation. You were never behind. You were becoming. You were never off track. You were being rerouted. You were never late. You were ripening. And all this time you thought life was punishing you when it was actually preparing you to carry your light with humility, to carry your freedom with reverence, to carry your voice with truth. There is something in you that has never been touched by shame, something in you that has never forgotten your original light. And if you sit with yourself in silence, if you listen deeply without trying to solve, that something will rise. And it will not be loud. It will be still. Like the hush of early dawn before the world wakes. Like the sacred pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. That stillness is your truth. That stillness is yourself. And it doesn't need healing. It needs space. You do not become more valuable by becoming more palatable. You do not become more worthy by becoming more agreeable. You do not become more loved by becoming less you. The moment you sacrifice your truth for someone else's comfort, you lose the very freedom your soul came here to embody. You were not born to fit in. You were born to awaken. To show others what is possible when a human being stops trying to fix themselves and starts trusting the perfection of their own becoming. And yes, it can be messy, but freedom is not clean. It is raw, it is vulnerable, it is beautifully human. And in your most human moments, your tears, your fears, your quiet longings, the light of your divinity shines the brightest. It says, even this belongs, even this is sacred, even this is part of the unfolding. Let go of the belief that your pain disqualifies you. It qualifies you. It softens your heart, humbles your mind, cracks the shell of the ego so the soul can pour through. Do not hide it. Do not bury it under spiritual bypassing or intellectual armor. Bring it into the light. Hold it in your hands like a sacred relic. Let it teach you. Let it open you. Let it remind you that even the darkest night holds a purpose you may not yet understand. The caterpillar doesn't understand the chrysalis. It only knows stillness. It only knows the surrender of no longer crawling. It only knows the silence that precedes transformation. And so it is with your journey. You may not understand why it feels so heavy. You may not see the wings forming beneath your skin, but one day you will break through what once confined you. One day you will fly, not because you fixed yourself, but because you remembered yourself. And that is the great paradox. The more you try to change yourself from a place of rejection, the more you suffer. But the moment you embrace yourself fully in the raw, the real, the incomplete, something miraculous happens. You begin to heal, not by force, but by love. You begin to transform not by effort, but by grace. You begin to rise, not because you climbed a ladder of self-improvement, but because you laid down the burden of pretending and let yourself be carried by truth. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to perform your healing. You don't need to prove your progress. You only need to breathe, to pause, to return. And in that return, to whisper softly to yourself, I am here, I am whole, I am free. Your freedom was never lost. It was only forgotten, covered over by the noise of the world, hidden beneath layers of conditioning and survival. But the truth cannot be erased. It can only be ignored. And the moment you turn toward it, the moment you trust that whisper more than the scream of fear, the veil lifts. Not all at once, sometimes gently, sometimes painfully, but always perfectly timed. You have tried being everything you thought you needed to be. Now try being nothing but who you are. You have tried controlling every outcome. Now try trusting the mystery. You have tried running. Now try resting. You have tried earning. Now try receiving. And see what happens when you no longer demand anything from life except to show up with an open heart. You are not your defense mechanisms. You are not your coping patterns. You are not your shadows. You are the one who is aware of them. And awareness is healing. It does not condemn. It does not fix. It simply sees. And in seeing without judgment, the very patterns that once held you captive begin to dissolve, not because you fought them, but because you loved yourself through them. So many spend their lives chasing enlightenment as if it were some peak to reach, some badge to wear. But true awakening is so simple. It's the moment you sit down, exhale, and realize, I am okay. I am enough. I don't have to become anything other than this. That is what the great mystics spoke of. That is what freedom feels like. Not a constant high, not a state of perfection, but a profound peace with what is. A deep yes to your own aliveness. The soul doesn't need to be impressive. It doesn't care how many people approve of you. It only cares if you approve of you. If you can look in the mirror and not flinch, if you can stand in your truth without shrinking, if you can walk into the world no longer asking, am I enough? But instead declaring, I am. And when you live from that place, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract people who recognize your truth, not because you perform for them, but because your energy resonates with their soul. You begin to draw in experiences that match your authenticity, not because you manipulated them, but because life mirrors back what you believe. And the more you embody your own freedom, the more you become a permission slip for others to do the same. You don't need to be fixed, just freed. Freed from old identities, freed from generational wounds, freed from expectations that were never yours, freed from the lie that says you must be anyone other than who you already are. The healing is in the allowing, the freedom is in the remembering, the awakening is in the surrender. So pause right now, breathe. Feel your heart beating. That is not brokenness. That is life, that is love, that is divinity pulsing through you. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to fight for it. You are it. There is nothing wrong with you. There never was. There is only the forgetting and the sacred, glorious, unstoppable journey of remembering. And so we return not to where we began, but to the place within that never moved. You may have searched in books and rituals and gurus and systems. You may have traveled miles, spent years, and emptied your heart looking for the key to wholeness. But the key was never far. It was always within. Not in the striving, but in the surrender. Not in the fixing, but in the releasing. Let it be known, the work is not to fix yourself. The work is to stop abandoning yourself, to stop betraying your truth for the comfort of others, to stop dimming your light to fit the mold of the fearful, to stop apologizing for existing. Your freedom does not come through perfecting your flaws. It comes through honoring your wholeness, even in the presence of those flaws. Because wholeness isn't about being flawless. It's about being true. The wound you thought disqualified you, it made you a healer. The heartbreak you thought was the end, it was a portal. The mistake you thought would define you, it was the invitation to forgive, to rise, to soften into your sacred humanness. And the shame you've carried for years, it was never yours to hold. You can lay it down now. You are safe to be seen. You are safe to be known. You are safe to be loved, not for who you could be, but for who you already are. Can you feel it? The softening in your chest, the quiet recognition in your belly, the sacred breath returning to your body. That is you coming home. That is you remembering. That is you no longer rushing, no longer fighting, no longer trying to fix what was never broken. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. You are a sacred unfolding, not a final product. There is nothing final about you. You are ongoing, infinite, evolving, yet never incomplete. The seed does not apologize for not being the tree. The moon does not shrink because it is not yet full, neither should you. Because freedom is not something you arrive at. It is something you allow. It is not a mountaintop you must climb. It is a truth you must remember. The prison was never made of steel. It was made of thoughts, of stories, of beliefs passed down by the afraid, the ashamed, the asleep. And now you awaken. Awakening is not about transcending your humanity. It's about embracing it. It's about seeing that your fear, your sadness, your longing, they are not signs of failure. They are signs of aliveness. Your sensitivity is not a burden, it is your gift. Your longing is not your weakness, it is your guidance. Your emotions are not liabilities, they are invitations to deepen. And when you stop resisting them, when you stop labeling your inner experience as wrong or broken or messy, you begin to live as you were always meant to, free, fluid, whole. There is such power in your softness, such beauty in your vulnerability, such truth in your tenderness. You do not have to harden to survive. You do not have to toughen up to be respected. You do not have to edit your soul for the approval of a world still asleep to its own divinity. Be soft, be open, be real. That is where your strength lives. That is where your peace is born. Forgive yourself, not because you were wrong, but because you believed you were unworthy. Forgive those who hurt you, not because they were right, but because they too forgot who they were. And in forgiveness, find your wings, not because you want to fly above life, but because you are finally light enough to walk through it with grace. The path forward is not paved in perfection. It is paved in presence, in allowing, in radical honesty, in compassion for your younger self, in tenderness toward the one inside you who tried so hard to be lovable. That one is not your enemy. That one is not your flaw. That one is your beginning. And now you are your return. Return to your body, return to your breath, return to the space between thoughts where truth still lives. Return to the moment again and again until the moment becomes your home. That's where freedom waits. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Always now. Let them misunderstand you. Let them label you. Let them doubt your path. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to embody it, to walk it, to live so deeply in your truth that others remember their own by the way you move through the world. And no, you will not always get it right. You will falter. You will forget. You will fall into the old stories now and then. But that is not failure. That is the rhythm of remembering. That is the spiral dance of awakening. Each time deeper. Each time softer. Each time freer. So breathe. Feel this moment. Not with your mind, with your being. Can you see? There is nothing to fix. There is only something to feel, something to remember, something to love. And that something is you, whole, sacred, free. There is a stillness behind every breath you take, a place untouched by fear, unsullied by judgment, unbroken by time. It is the space of your being, eternal and present. And in that space, the great miracle of transformation begins not through striving, not through control, not through the clenched fists of resistance, but through the open hands of acceptance. Acceptance is not surrender, it is not apathy, it is not weakness. It is the courageous, soul-deep acknowledgement that this moment as it is enough. Not because it conforms to your expectations, not because it gives you everything you think you need, but because it simply is. And in its isness, it is sacred. Transformation begins the moment you stop arguing with reality. The moment you cease demanding that life should have gone another way. The moment you unclench from the past, loosen your grip on your imagined future, and soften into the now. This is not passivity, this is power. The power of presence, the power of trust, the power of alignment with a deeper wisdom that transcends your intellect. Most people believe change begins when the outside world shifts, when the job is found, when the partner returns, when the pain finally disappears. But the truth, the deep and liberating truth, is that change begins inside. It begins when you turn toward your life and not to fix it, not to escape it, but to be with it. To embrace what is, so that what is no longer needed can fall away. There is an old story you've been telling, a story of what should have happened, of what you've lost, of what they did, a story of shame or blame or regret. You carry it like a backpack of bricks, hoping it will finally bring justice or clarity or control. But the story is not your salvation. The story is your chain. And acceptance is the key that unlocks the door. To accept is not to approve. To accept is to see clearly, to stand still in the presence of what is, without flinching, without running, without denial. There's a kind of sacred vision that comes only when the ego quiets its complaints, when the heart stops closing doors, and when the soul is given the microphone. Acceptance is the posture of the soul. When you accept your past, it cannot haunt you. When you accept your emotions, they cannot drown you. When you accept yourself, your light, your darkness, your flaws, your beauty, you stop waiting to become someone else, and you finally arrive as yourself. This world does not need more perfected personas. It does not need more masks or performances. It needs realness. It needs presence. It needs the radiant authenticity that pours from someone who has looked at every broken part of themselves and said, yes, even this, I will not turn away. The pain you resist becomes your prison. The moment you say, this should not be, you cast yourself into inner war. But the moment you say, this is what is, you return to peace. From that peace, true change can resonate as a frantic sprint, away from what you hate, but as a gentle, guided unfolding toward who you really are. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by force. It does not rip its own skin off in rebellion. It goes still. It surrenders. It cocoons into darkness and accepts the disintegration of all it has known. Only then can the wings form. Only then can the transformation take flight. You too must be willing to enter that sacred cocoon, to stop trying to be elsewhere, to stop judging your sadness, your anger, your confusion. These are not signs of failure. They are invitations to feel, to heal, to listen, to love. The ego will fight this. It wants movement. It wants drama. It wants victory through struggle. But the soul speaks a quieter language. It whispers in stillness. It heals through presence. And it transforms through acceptance. You have not been broken by your past. You have been shaped by it, tempered, refined, initiated. The fire did not destroy you, it revealed you. The rain did not drown, you washed away what you were never meant to carry. And the darkness was not a punishment, it was a womb, a place of becoming. Acceptance is how you make peace with the womb. It is how you sit inside the mystery and say, I don't need to understand this to trust it. The oak tree does not understand the storm, but it does not resist it. It bends, it roots, it waits, and when the winds come, it is stronger, deeper, wiser. You have carried expectations like shields, assumptions like swords, but these weapons do not protect you. They separate you from others, from peace, from your own divine nature. Lay them down. Let the story of who you thought you had to be dissolved. Return to your original self, the one who needed no reason to be worthy, the one who knew how to dance in the rain, the one who loved without a why. You are not here to control the river. You are here to learn how to float, how to feel the current beneath you and trust it is carrying you exactly where you need to go. Resistance is exhaustion. Acceptance is grace. And grace is not something you earn, it is something you allow, something you receive when you stop trying to deserve it. Grace enters when your hands are open, not clenched. It enters when your heart is soft, not armored. It enters through the door of acceptance. That door has always been waiting for you to step out of the courtroom of your mind and into the sanctuary of your spirit, waiting for you to stop defending and start discovering, waiting for you to see that there is nothing wrong with you, only thoughts that told you there was. Even the pain, even the failure, even the lonely, none of it was wrong. All of it was part of your becoming, part of your sacred curriculum. And when you accept that, the pain becomes wisdom, the failure becomes freedom, and the loneliness becomes a gateway to the divine. Keep breathing, keep softening, keep letting go of the need for life to be other than it is. What if everything you've been trying to fix is already perfect in its unfolding? What if the healing isn't something you achieve, but something you stop resisting? You are not a problem to be solved. You are a soul to be felt. You are a mystery to be lived. You are a wave of divine intelligence moving through a temporary form, and every experience is a note in the song of your awakening. And the song doesn't need to be rewritten, it only needs to be heard. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not even the name you answer to. You are the witness behind it all. The presence that observes, that breathes, that remains. And in that witnessing, in that sacred noticing, you begin to awaken. You begin to realize that nothing outside of you has the authority to define your worth. Only your own awareness can do that. And awareness, when paired with acceptance, becomes liberation. How long will you wait for permission to be at peace? How many years will you spend negotiating with the past, bargaining with the future, trying to twist yourself into some idea of enough? What if you paused right now and said, this is enough, I am enough, and I no longer need to be at war with life? There is such relief in no longer needing to fight. Not because you've given up, but because you've risen up. Risen into a higher truth, where peace is not earned through struggle, but remembered through surrender. In this remembering, your entire life becomes softer. It becomes more honest. You stop chasing illusions and you begin to live. The soul does not speak in demands. It speaks in invitations. And every moment is an invitation to return to your breath, to your body, to your truth. To return to the quiet space beneath the noise, where life simply is. No judgments, no stories, just now, just presence, just being. Most people live in a cage built by their own minds. The bars are made of expectations, and the lock is resistance. But the key has always been in your hands. It's called acceptance. And when you use it, the cage disappears not because the world changed, but because your vision did. Imagine the peace that arises when you no longer need to control how others see you. Imagine the freedom when you stop trying to rewrite the past. Imagine the love you can offer yourself when you stop demanding that you be any different than you are. This is not complacency. It is awakening. The seed does not judge itself for not yet being a tree. It simply allows the rain, welcomes the sun, and trusts the unfolding. So must you. You were never meant to be anyone else. Your pain, your past, your peculiarities, they are not deviations from your path. They are your path. They are the exact conditions necessary for your soul to flower. Stop wishing they were different. Start listening to what they are here to teach. Acceptance is not the end of transformation. It is the beginning. When you finally stop trying to escape the moment becomes your teacher. When you stop resisting what is, you begin to receive what is. And that receiving is where healing begins. You may believe that you'll accept life once it gets better. But in truth, life gets better the moment you accept it. Because your suffering has never come from the moment itself. It has come from the thought that the moment should be something else. When you stop arguing with what is, your energy returns to you. And that energy can be used for love, for creativity, for connection, for truth. Resistance drains, acceptance replenishes. In the presence of acceptance, fear dissolves, because fear feeds on control. But when you accept that you do not need to control, fear loses its grip. And in that loosening, a deeper trust is born not in the mind, but in life itself. You begin to see that everything that has ever happened was not in the way, but on the way. Every detour, every heartbreak, every delay it was all divine choreography. You may not have chosen the pain, but the pain chose you for a reason. Not to punish, but to purify. Not to destroy, but to awaken. And when you accept that, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you begin to ask, what is this here to reveal in me? That shift changes everything. It shifts you from victim to vessel, from resentment to reverence, from anxiety to awe. The truth is, nothing needs to change for you to be free. Freedom is not a future destination. It is a present realization. It is a choice to see what is without resistance, without judgment, without running away. And when you truly see it, you begin to love it. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it's yours, because it brought you here. And here this sacred, raw, imperfect here is where the divine lives. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin living. This is the moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this rising and falling of the chest. The divine is not elsewhere. It is right here. In the messy, the mundane, the misunderstood, this is where your transformation begins. It begins when you soften instead of harden, when you stay instead of flee, when you say yes to what is, even when it breaks your heart, especially when it breaks your heart. Because the heart must break open for the soul to shine through. And oh, how it shines. Not through the perfect mask of a polished life, but through the cracks, the flaws, the places where the light got in. Your scars are not your shame. They are your sanctuaries. Places where you were cracked open and still chose love. You are not here to prove anything. You are here to remember everything, to remember that you are whole, that you are held, that you are a wave of divine light temporarily having a human experience. And acceptance is how you remember. When you stop trying to be someone else, you come home to who you already are. And that home is not a place of perfection, it is a place of peace. A place where you can rest, where you can breathe, where you can finally lay down the burden of becoming and rise into the grace of being. This is the real miracle. Not that you changed life, but that you changed your relationship with life. That you chose to see with new eyes, to listen with an open heart, to walk not in fear, but in faith. And this faith is not blind, it is intimate. It is rooted in a knowing that cannot be explained, only felt. A knowing that whispers, even this is part of it. Even this has a place. Even this can be holy. The rain has never apologized for falling. The ocean does not regret its waves. The mountain does not wish to be smaller, and neither should you. Accept yourself as nature accepts itself unapologetically, unconditionally, unreservedly, because only when you accept yourself can you truly love yourself. And only when you love yourself can you truly love others. All transformation begins here, not out there, not later, but here. In the quiet revolution of accepting this moment, this breath, this you. So breathe, return, and open the door. Not the door of striving or proving, but the door of surrender. The door of yes. The door that has been waiting for you all along. And when you walk through that door, you do not find escape. You find arrival. You do not find perfection. You find peace. You do not find answers. You find acceptance. And that is the beginning of everything. Let this be your sacred turning point, not in outer form, but in inner knowing. Let this be the moment you say to yourself, with all the tenderness in the world, I will no longer resist this life. I will no longer push against this moment. I will accept myself. I will accept this path. I will accept the presence of the divine in all things. And as you do, the door swings open, the light floods in, the burdens drop away, and transformation no longer feels like effort. It feels like truth. It feels like peace. It feels like home. But don't just accept what feels easy. Accept even what you do not understand. Accept the mess. Accept the noise. Accept the days when the answers do not come. Because those are the days your spirit is doing its deepest work. The soil does not resist the seed just because it does not yet bloom. It holds it. It keeps it safe. And so must you hold your process without judgment, without haste, without shame. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not broken or lost. You are exactly where you are meant to, but not as a punishment, not as a failure, but as a sacred pause, a necessary inhale before the next unfolding. Stop measuring your growth with someone else's ruler. Your journey is too sacred for comparison. There is a wisdom in the silence. There is healing in the slowness, but only if you can accept it. If you can sit with the discomfort and allow it to soften you. Let life knead you like clay, molding you not into perfection, but into presence. And presence is where love lives. Can you love yourself when you're not performing? Can you honor your soul when you're not being praised? Can you sit in your solitude and still feel divine? Because that's what it means to accept yourself. Not when you're polished, not when you're accomplished, but now. In the sweat, in the uncertainty, in the imperfection. This is what real healing looks like, not the erasing of scars, but the honoring of them. Not pretending you were never wounded, but bowing to the strength it took to survive. You are not here to hide your story. You are here to illuminate it, not as a tale of victimhood, but as a testimony of rising. So let the pain be part of your poetry. Let the failures be folded into your freedom. Let the heartbreak become holy. There is no part of your experience that is not worthy of reverence. Nothing that needs to be exiled from the sacred space of your becoming. And if tears come, let them fall. Do not apologize for feeling. Do not harden just to be accepted. Because the truth is, your softness is your strength. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are rivers that carve valleys of compassion into your soul. Let them flow. Let them teach. Let them reveal the truth you've hidden beneath the armor. You are safe now. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to defend. You don't have to explain your light to those committed to seeing you dim. Just be. Just breathe. Just stand in your sacred yes. Because when you stop chasing the life you think you should have, the life that was always meant for you can finally arrive. And when it does, you'll recognize it not by how perfect it looks, but by how peaceful it feels. That's how you'll know you're home. Not because everything outside is fixed, but because something inside is finally free. Free from resistance. Free from expectation. Free from the self-imposed pressure to constantly become in that freedom. You realize, I was never meant to strive my way into peace. I was only meant to remember that I am peace itself. This remembrance changes everything. It shifts your entire vibration. It reorients your path, not away from difficulty, but toward truth. Because truth doesn't always feel comfortable, but it always sets you free. And the deepest truth is this: you are enough, as you are, right now. Not one more achievement, not one more apology, not one more moment of proving is required. You were born worthy, and nothing this world can give or take can alter that. Acceptance is how you reclaim this truth, not by doing, but by allowing. Allow yourself to exhale. Allow yourself to soften. Allow yourself to be held not by another person, but by the infinite, eternal presence that has carried you from the beginning. You are not separate from it. You are it. You are the presence you've been seeking. You are the divine disguised in human skin. And in this knowing, you stop running, you stop performing, you stop pushing away parts of yourself to be loved. You realize you don't need to be different to be whole. You need to be here to be real, to be open, to be willing to accept the pain that shaped you, the joy that sustained you, the unknown that continues to call you forward. Willing to accept that life is not a straight line, but a spiral staircase, and every return, every detour, every descent is part of the rising. Willing to accept that maybe the mountain you've been trying to climb is already within you. Maybe there's nowhere to go but deeper, deeper into stillness, deeper into self, deeper into this miraculous now. Because when you live from acceptance, you no longer live in delay. You no longer postpone your peace. You no longer wait for permission to love your life. You simply begin right here, right now. And beginning doesn't mean changing everything. It means loving what already is. It means saying yes to the life that has said yes to you all along. So say yes. Say yes to your breath. Say yes to your history. Say yes to the places that still ache and the parts that have already healed. Say yes to the soul that longs to be felt and the love that lives just beneath your fear. Because when you say yes to all of it, transformation becomes inevitable. You cannot truly accept something and remain unchanged. Acceptance is the alchemy. The fire that doesn't burn you but reveals the gold beneath the soot. And the gold is this: you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become because of it. You are not the pain. You are the awareness holding the pain. And that awareness, your eternal self, is untouchable, indestructible, and already whole. In this space, there is nothing left to fix, only more to feel, more to welcome, more to remember. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You remember the you that danced in the rain, that trusted the wind, that didn't question your worth, because worth wasn't something you earned, it was something you were. And so you return, not as a stranger, not as a project, but as a soul who remembers. You return to life, not as a battleground, not as a test, but as a temple, a holy invitation to presence, to wonder, to joy. You return to yourself, not as a critic, not as a warrior, but as a lover, a gentle witness, a compassionate guide. And from that place of inner union, where all parts of you are seen, heard, and loved, life begins to flow again. Not perfectly, not predictably, but freely. You no longer need to push. You no longer need to prove. You simply walk in the direction of truth. With each step, the path reveals itself. With each breath, the burden lifts. With each moment of acceptance, transformation deepens. And at last, you understand the door was never locked. It was only waiting for you to stop resisting. And now that you have, you are free. So here you are now, not broken, but blooming. Not lost, but found in the stillness. Not waiting, but awakening. And all of it began, not with a battle, not with a breakthrough, but with a breath, with the simplest, most radical act of all acceptance. You didn't have to travel the world. You didn't have to become someone else. You only had to say yes. Yes to this moment, yes to this self, yes to the mystery of your becoming. And in that, yes, the struggle faded, the illusion dissolved, the noise quieted, and what remained was peace. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped demanding that life be different. You stopped needing to outrun your past. You stopped fearing the shadows in you. And you looked at it all and said, even this is worthy. Even this is sacred. Even this belongs. And with those words, you came home. So walk forward now, not hurried, not hardened, but whole. Let your steps be soft, your heart be open, your eyes see the divine in all things. And let every breath you take be a gentle reminder. You were never meant to resist your life. You were meant to live it, to feel it, to embrace it, to accept it. And in that sacred acceptance, to be transformed You are already free. You are already whole. You are already home. And everything begins from here.